Hey guys, my name is Angel and welcome to the threshing floor. Today I'm going to be walking you through our little suburban backyard garden. It is a container and raised bed garden, and I have no idea what I'm doing, so don't expect anything even remotely professional looking. So we are in zone 9A in South Texas. It is hot and humid most of the year. I think we have a season of like 285 growing days or something crazy like that. And it gets hot quick, it stays hot, and it's very, very humid. So we have problems with things like powdery mildew. We have lots of fire ants. Texas fire ants are no joke. And I learned last summer that they like to work in teams with aphids and destroy your plants. But we do not like to use chemicals in our garden, and so we're learning the best way to handle those situations. And so far the best thing I've come up with when it comes to fire ants is just hosing their beds. It doesn't work great, but in the time that I'm learning how to handle it, that's just what I've got. So that's what I'm using. So we have a standard suburban backyard. Right now it's very overgrown because life has just been chaotic. But we fenced off our little garden because we have stray neighborhood cats that like to go in and destroy things and contaminate things. So we decided that if we were going to do this, we were going to have to keep these stray animals out of it the best that we could. And so far it's been helping. We haven't really had too much trouble other than with birds. So we're still working on things like covering our strawberry plants so that our strawberries and tomatoes, when they start to bear fruit, which we haven't done yet, to help keep the birds off of them. I'm also going to use a suggestion from my 8-year-old who read a little kids gardening book to put up bird feeders nearby that kind of removed away to help give the birds something that they can eat instead of something they shouldn't be eating, which is my food. Anyways, so we are going to go in and I'm going to show you what we've got going. So right here we have a container of purple potted peas, or purple potted green beans. I always get that wrong. Purple potted green beans, which are delicious for snacking, and they're very prolific in the way that they grow. These things are massive. There's only 6 in this container, and they're just massive. And they start out green. They have these purple flowers, and they start out green, and then they slowly turn purple. And then when you get one that is fully grown, it is completely purple. Let's see if I can find one. We went through, I brought the kids through earlier, and we picked some different things for them to snack on and just to have fun with, trying to get better at involving them more. I'm not one of those moms that naturally is inclined to doing that, and so trying to get better at that. Anyways, the purple potted beans. Aha, here we go. So they are adorable. This one's not quite long enough, but that's okay. Anyways, they are purple. They are like violet purple. And then on the inside, they're green. And they're really good, just for snacking on. So we have purple potted peas, and then we have this massive cherry tomato plant that I need to reinforce because I didn't expect it to get that big, quite frankly. And it has put off dozens. It's got dozens of little cherry tomatoes that are green and that are growing, and I'm excited to see what happens with that. If we get more than 1 or 2 fruit off of that, that will be the biggest tomato harvest I've ever had. This is my second summer growing things, and it shows. So, anyways, so I'm going to show you this bed right here, this monstrosity. Oh, over in that container are mint and lavender, and that has a strawberry plant with some more purple potted peas. So, over here, this bed I planted last summer with some kind of, it was a pumpkin or it was a melon, something like that. I don't remember. it did not grow successful. Well, it grew, it got covered in powdery mildew, and I did not get any fruit. So, learned that lesson. But this, I planted this spring with sweet potatoes, which you can see the sweet potato vines here. They are growing beautifully. And there's one that weeds its way back there and is growing up that back fence. However, all of this are 2 volunteers from whatever that plant was last summer. And they have taken over this whole area, and it's so healthy. And I've had such trouble getting certain things started that I decided to just let it go, and we'll learn and see what happens. Now over here, because like I said, I've had trouble getting melons started. And so I finally, after trying several times to get melons and peppers started this year, I went ahead and bought some transplants. So down here in the corners of this bed, which was supposed to be my pepper bed, I have a watermelon transplant there, and then 3 of them over here, and they're not doing great. Those are just weeds. They're not doing great. However, I got other ones and I planted them over there, and they're doing fantastic. I'm not sure what the difference is, but we will see. So this bed is my tomato and pepper bed. We have our 2 pepper transplants that I got. There's one there, and then one back over there. That one is a sweet banana pepper for Finley because he just loves banana peppers. And then this one is a orange lunchbox pepper because I like the sweet little snacking peppers. We all do, really. But all of these actually are not transplants. They are planted from seed after our kind of freak, it was February or early March or something like that. Texas got a massive winter storm that shut everything down. We actually had snow back here, which is crazy, and it stuck around for like a day and a half. Anyways, after that storm, when everything thawed, I came out here and I planted tomatoes from seed. Last year I tried to plant them from seed in containers in the house and transplant them, and they were completely stunted. I had a horrible time trying to grow them, and so this year I decided our growing season is really long. And while they may not survive the high heats of the summer, I want to see what happens if I grow them in the ground and if I can get any fruit from them. So we will have to see about that. And right now, they are actually doing fantastically. This has been growing in the ground from seed for about 2 months, maybe a little bit longer. And it is doing beautifully. It has fruit. And these little fruit are actually blue cream cherry tomatoes. And I am so excited to try these. I actually don't remember most of what these plants are because I planted them and did not put tags. So I get the joy of getting excited and learning as they fruit, if they fruit, what's growing there. But we have lots of blossoms. This one's actually a really large blossom, so I'm thinking it's going to be for one of the slicer tomatoes that I planted. So it's exciting. It's exciting to see what's going on. Now over here, this is 5 different corn stalks, 4 of which are doing significantly better than the one back in the corner. And this was simply an experiment to see what happens. I've watched YouTube videos where people have grown corn in containers and done it successfully, and we just don't have a whole lot of room here, and so I was like, well, let's just give it a shot. And it's pretty neat to see. I've never seen corn grow up close and in person, and so it's really cool to learn about the way that the ear of corn that we actually eat is the female part that has all of the fibers that receive the pollen from the male part, which is actually sprouted on top and then drops the pollen down. And each one of those little hairs is actually a corn kernel that once it gets pollinated, it grows into a corn kernel that we can eat, and it becomes another seed. And that's just so cool. So, not sure what's going to happen with that. We'll learn though. Over here, I have another strawberry plant that is doing really well. This one's much healthier than the other one, and I think it's because it's in partial shade. And it's also not surrounded by a bunch of beans that are growing as well. It's full of blossoms and little berries growing. Over here, we have zinnias. That one's a volunteer zinnia, as is this one from last year where I grew them in this container. And it's just doing beautifully. I'm so excited about that. That is dill I planted from seed. I have no idea how to use that yet, but I'm gonna learn. And then down here, I have a little rosemary growing that smells so good, as does this purple opal basil that was all from seed. I planted 3 different types of basil in here. That's the only one that sprouted, and it sprouted abundantly, so I'm just gonna go with it. And this is pineapple sage. I got this last Saturday as a transplant because I really liked it last year and it died, and I did not know that it could come back. So, learned that lesson as well. This is a Mexican torch sunflower, and I am very excited to see it grow and bloom, and its leaves are so soft. I don't know if I could use them for something, but I feel like I should because they're beautiful and glorious. Over here, we have zucchini, which is flowering and has put off the female fruit, but I don't think it got pollinated, so we're gonna have to wait and see on that one. But it's growing and it's healthy. This one, not so healthy. This one is a yellow scalloped squash that took 3 times to even get this one to germinate. However, we have roly-polies, and they're just little tyrants. I don't get it. I'm gonna have to talk to God about that one day. And I'm pretty sure he's not going to care to give me an answer. And I'm probably not going to care to get the answer when I meet him. But it would be interesting to sit down and go, God, mosquitoes, ticks, and roly-polies. Why? And you know what? He'll probably say, because. Whatever. They all glorify him too. But they're irritating in my garden. They eat the seeds, they eat the sprouts, and then they eat the fruit. They're kind of jerks. But that's okay. My kids enjoy playing with them. So at least there's that, and that glorifies God. So, whatever. Back to the garden. So there's that. It's not doing very well. I did fertilize it, and it's starting to bloom, but I think it's starting to bloom because it's not doing so great, and it's in those last throes. So we'll see what happens with it. Down here are those watermelons, and then a Kajari melon that I'm really hoping grows and does well because I would really love to taste that fruit. It's beautiful. It's a little orange personal size melon, and I've heard wonderful things about it. So, over here, reaching way over the trellis by like a foot, we have some cucumber plants. We have 2 of it's a Boston pickling cucumber, and we just picked a 6-inch fruit off of it that is inside, and I let the kids pick it. Last summer, the main thing that I grew successfully was cucumbers. I had this whole row just covered in cucumbers, and it was amazing. I was picking 2 or 3 a day, and pickling them. I did refrigerator pickles, which were delicious, and I got to share them with friends, which was an amazing blessing to be able to do that. And it was so much fun. It was so much fun to learn how to do that. And it was super easy. The kids really enjoyed it. In fact, my son earlier, when we picked that one lonesome little 6-inch cucumber, he was like, Mom, we gotta take it in and make pickles out of it. And I was like, I don't really think that's enough to make pickles out of it, but we can try. But that's how much he's excited about it. So, back down here, this one lonesome little one is actually a Beet Alpha slicer cucumber. And while it's not thriving the same way that these 2 do, this is the same variety I did last year, and it just took off. I think it doesn't mind the heat nearly as much because it produced well into June and July, which is like 100-degree temps. And then it got covered in powdery mildew, but it was still producing. I mean, it's absolutely a trooper. So if nothing else, I know I can grow those. But this little one down here gave us a fruit the other day, and it was so delicious. And we got one little one right here growing. And so we are very excited about that. And then up here we've got, where did it go? I had one earlier. Oh, not that one. There he is. So this is the Boston pickling cucumber, and it's very spiky and bumpy, but it's really good, and it grows fantastically here. I think it's fascinating the shape difference there between that kind of cucumber and the slicer. One is more oblong and fat at one end, and then the other one is more slender and slick, and it's really cool to see the differences from one plant to another when they're in the same, they're both cucumbers, but they're both fairly different. So another cool thing. Anyways, over here we have our sugar snap peas, and they're doing good now. They were loaded with fruit earlier, and then me and the kids kind of came and picked a whole bunch and snacked on them because they're delicious. Even though they're not nearly as sweet as they would be if it was colder. It's about 75 here right now, probably closer to 80 by this point, and it's humid. But the base of them is fairly sickly looking, but everything growing out of it is very lush and healthy. I did fertilize it last weekend. It's thriving. I'm not quite sure how it's going to hold up to the heat, but we shall see. Down here, we've got two different kinds of green beans, which are our biggest producer right now. They have been a constant source of joy as, like, daily, I have come out and gotten a handful and given them to the kids, and we snack on them at breakfast. I managed to collect like a whole pint-sized jar of them the other day over the course of like 2 days, going out morning and evening. I have to beat the roly-polies to them, though. This is their favorite snack. And I don't blame them. They're delicious. But they're kind of rude. So anyways, they're doing really good. There's Blue Lake and Big Kahuna in 2 little rows here. And way down here, I have 4 tomato plants that they started out over in that garden bed, and then when they got big, I transplanted them over here because I just couldn't bring myself to throw them away and waste them. I figured I have this little space right here because I had tried to plant more carrots and didn't get a whole lot of germination. So I just stuck them over here because I knew it was too late to plant more carrots because of how hot it is. So we'll see what happens with that. All of this is a learning process. And then down here, we have 2 here and 2 here. Garlics that sprouted in the kitchen, and like the tomatoes, I just couldn't throw them away, so I threw them out in the garden to see what happens. And they are actually doing really well. I'm kind of surprised. But I guess I should rephrase that. Our God is a fantastic God. And one of my husband and I's favorite things to say when we see things that really honor and glorify him, that he's done, that just kind of knock us off our feet sometimes, even simple things, our phrase is never surprised, always in awe. I'm not surprised that God caused these things to grow when I planted them, but I am in awe of him because he's just really cool, and the nature and the science behind the things that or the intelligent design behind these amazing things that he made. It's just awe-inspiring. So, then down here we have our little carrots. They are from India. I cannot remember the name of them, but they are a red carrot from India, and they're supposed to be more heat tolerant, and they're doing okay. They kind of got off to a rocky start. I don't think I watered them quite enough, but right now they are lush, and we will have to see what comes of that. So, that is our little garden, and thank you for joining us in it and learning with us. And I look forward to sharing a little bit of a harvest with you. I'm not sure what it'll look like. It may not be more than a handful. It may only be one of something, but that is wonderful too, and I will praise our Maker who provides for us, even if it's just one, and even if it's none, because there's lots to be learned through that, and he still gets good glory because he's a good God. Anyways, thank you for joining us. Until next time, bye.